And good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. This is your host of the Broken Not Shattered podcast. My guest today has such a unique story. Thank you guys for all your support for last week. We really had a great time on this podcast. Please, again, like I remind you every week, just click, log in, like, and share this podcast with all your friends and loved ones wherever you are. My guest today is someone who's a very unique story. I'm going to let Santana introduce herself. Hey, Santana, welcome to the Broken Up Podcast, BNS podcast, for the very first time and hopefully not the last time.
Thank you, Ike. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
My name's Santana. I'm based in Vancouver, Canada. First and foremost, I'm a mother. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and she has become my entire world and my purpose, my why. She gets me out of bed every morning, literally and not literally. I've been through a lot of hardships. In 2020, my daughter's father passed away, and shortly after I found out I was pregnant with her. So she became my rock through my grief, I would say. And the lessons I've learned in the last 4 years, I can't even count how many things I've discovered about myself, about life, about loss, just about the beauty of every moment. So I don't know how else to sum myself up, but that's who I am.
And that's perfect for us. Thanks again, Santana. Again, sorry for your loss. But out of this grief has come out something unexpected and something great. I like the way you put it. I like the way you put it. You said this is now your why.
Oh, of course. In every capacity.
Yeah. In every capacity. Outside of the cat that's in the house, this is the
yeah. He was my first why, but he's now my second why.
There we go. And so a lot of great things have happened. And you're beginning to find your voice in this experience and in this journey.
Totally.
What we do with this podcast, we just create a platform for people to tell their story and hopefully to inspire other folks who might be going through in the future.
Yeah.
We're going to get to talking about grief and the circles of grief, but I want to ask a direct question.
Yeah.
How were you able to navigate the emotions of grief and at the same time the emotions coming with the pregnancy? Because this is almost like a dichotomy right here, right? It's something tragic and there's something beautiful happening at the same time.
The contrast of emotions in the exact same chapter were rich. I would say that initially when I found out I was pregnant, I was ecstatic. I was so happy and I was through the roof. And then I think the realization of what the journey was going to look like for me and how isolating it was going to be started to sink in. And then I also started to grieve my life because it was no longer ever going to look the same in any way. So the emotions that occurred, I had to numb a lot of my feelings throughout my pregnancy towards the grief and really just focus on having a healthy pregnancy. Something kind of came over me and I knew that if I thought a lot about my sorrow and I longed for her father to be back and I thought about all the sadness and the trauma, she would feel that inside of me. So you could say that I parked my grief for about 9 months.
Wow.
And I just went all in on pregnancy. Like I read every forum you could read about like what to eat, what to do, what to read, what to listen to. And it was also during the pandemic. So there was a lockdown. So there was no in-person pregnancy classes and pregnancy yoga. There was none of that. So I had to just like lock in my apartment and really dedicate all my energy to the pregnancy because I didn't want to feel the sadness. And it did approach later. a couple of years later, I would say when my daughter was about 1.5, that's when I started to really navigate the intensities of my grief, because I wasn't in that pregnancy, newborn mother autopilot anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about grief. I can identify a little bit about what you just shared. It's a cycle. You can't skip it.
Totally. It comes around when you're least expecting it.
I think mine happened to me on my graduation day from college.
Yeah.
Same day that was like a super hype day when everyone's, young man about to walk the aisle and, just saying, hey, I've graduated. And
yeah.
I get the news on that same day I just lost my dad.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So right there, it's the graduation is taking place the next morning. I'm already on campus with my friends. Then I get the information that my dad just passed away that same day. So I can understand. So just like you, I suppressed my grief and went into action mode. It took me 10 years, Santana. Yes, 10 years.
Yeah.
10 whole years for me to wake up one morning and break down and start crying.
Yeah.
That I had lost my dad and I missed him. Yeah.
Yeah. I listened to a podcast on grief, and it actually, they use this analogy that grief is like the stock market.
Wow.
You can have really great days, and then you can have really bad days. And no matter how far into your grief you are, the bad days can still hurt just as much as the early stage bad days. Yeah. But if you're looking on a trajectory of like the year, the bad days aren't as frequent. So your stock is slowly going up, but you're still feeling those lows when they do hit you. Yeah. And they can take you right down, especially on beautiful days, on birthdays, Christmases, Mother's Days, Father's Days. Like that's when it's you long for them.
Wow. Would you like to talk about the experience when you got the news, how it was like, what happened, where you were?
Yeah. So my child's father owned a store in Vancouver. The name of the store is Dank Mart, and it's an interesting concept. It's like a snack store, but they have very unique snacks that you can't get in Canada. So they would search for snacks, for example, from the UK, from Japan. A lot of the stuff was from the United States. So it was this like boutique style store, and it was really popular because it was the first of its type in the city. So he was working. I was working at the store with him, but I had left early. I left at 10 o'clock. They closed at 10, but he was still there stocking up the shelves. I was at our apartment, and one of my girlfriends was with me, and I had received a phone call that there was a shooting, and it was at his store. I didn't know particulars. I didn't know, if anyone was hurt. I just heard there was a shooting. He wasn't answering his phone, so we raced there. And then in those moments, we weren't allowed to actually access the store because police were there and everything was roped off. And I wasn't really getting any answers on his well-being from any of the police officers. They were just telling me that they can't give me any information. In my mind, I remember thinking like, he can't be fatally injured. Like I thought maybe someone tried to rob the store and maybe they shot a bullet. Maybe it like hit his arm or, I'm thinking best case scenario. There's no question in my mind that like he could be gone. And then I started calling the other employees that were there that night, stalking with him. And finally, one of them had picked up the phone, and she was the one who told me that he was gone. She said, I don't want to be the one to tell you, but, he didn't make it. And I just remember in that moment, I sat on the sidewalk. It was 11 p.m. or probably closer to midnight at this time. I sat on the sidewalk outside a block away, and you can almost see like every memory of that person flash before you. in a matter of a second. Like I just saw like our trajectory of day one meeting him to 2 hours prior when I left the store and said goodbye to him. It all just like spun around in my head for a few moments. And yeah, I immediately went into a state of shock, almost disbelief. Like I wanted someone else to tell me it was true. And I wanted to talk to someone that was there, a police officer. And then at this time, of course, I didn't know I'm pregnant. I went to the police station, and then after the police station, I went back to his apartment, and it was just such a strange feeling being in his apartment with all of our stuff and just thinking like, I think he might come through that door. Like you know what I mean? I have this feeling like this might be a bad dream, or someone told me the wrong thing. They got the wrong person. And then for the weeks to follow, every morning you wake up and there's like a split second that you think maybe that was a dream. You forget that all of this happened. And then it was 2 weeks later that I found out I was pregnant. So I think that I went from being in a state of shock that he had died to an immediate state of shock that I'm now pregnant.
Wow.
And there was not a lot of time for me to really sit in this process and comprehend that he's gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oof. I can only imagine what you must have gone through.
It was
So what do you do to keep that memory alive? Keep his memory alive?
so many things. I mean, I celebrate his birthday every year with my daughter. We get balloons and we let the balloons go into the clouds, and we get a cake and we sing happy birthday. I have a stuffed animal that's got him on it. I have a blanket with him on it. We'll have a tea party with, her dada pillow, and I tell her stories of him. I show her pictures, videos. And I often share about him on my social media. And I found, like in my personal journey with grief, and you can tell me if you can relate, I can hear him encouraging me when I'm navigating trouble or navigating like a hard decision.
Oh, he's not your guardian angel.
Yeah, like I can almost, and you know what? He was that kind of person before he died anyways. Like if I was insecure about, pushing my limits, like he would always be like, you can do it, you got this. So I feel like he really he imprinted my brain with those words. So now I can hear them when I'm struggling with parenting. And so I always remind myself to just continue to be the person he saw in me.
No.
I know that's what he would want me to do. And then I also try and like take parts of his character and share it with my daughter and just with people, because like there were so many things about him that I loved. So if I can then embody those things to our child, and then to also just people, because people deserved that energy, it just makes me feel like I'm continuing to bring him along with me.
Right. Does your daughter ask questions that catch you off guard every now and then?
Oh my God, all the time. This year, especially, I mean, from the day that she started like understanding words and objects, for me, a butterfly is a strong symbol of him and his guidance. And I mean, there's a whole story to that. There were a lot of butterflies at his funeral around his casket. And so when I see butterflies, I'm always like, okay, like, you know what? This is where I'm supposed to be at this moment. So I've always said to her, look, Dada's letting us know he's saying hi whenever we see butterflies. So she has always thought like, okay, Dada's in heaven. He sends a butterfly when he wants to say hi. And then it wasn't until this year that she really understood like death and how people die. Like before it was like, okay, he's dead. But like, this is the first year that she's asked me, how did he die? What happened to the bad guy? Where is the bad guy? What was the bad guy wearing? Like so many questions that I was caught off guard because I was like, for her to comprehend all these things, I'm not ready I don't know how to answer. So I always have to just take a second, and I answer truthfully with as little detail as possible. And I just allow her to ask questions. Of course, I've talked to therapists and asked for their guidance, and they always say, you don't want to lie, you want to be honest, but you don't want to give, too much information for a 4-year-old to comprehend.
Yeah.
So that's actually the chapter I'm in right now, just answering her questions without doing too much.
Yeah, it's to finding that balance.
Mm-hmm.
Find that balance. And so I know obviously life has changed, and now you are I say single mom, solo mom,
Yeah.
Navigating life. What have you learned about yourself? That because talking to you now, you sound pretty strong. And
yeah, I've learned a lot, so many things. I've learned that you have a choice to be happy and to pursue, or to feel sorry for yourself and to just stay in your zone of whatever you consider comfort.
Mm-hmm.
And when I've chosen to be comfortably victimized in my circumstance, I don't perform the way that I want to perform with my child. Like, I don't have the grace I want to have with her. I don't have the grace I want to have with my family and my friends, with my goals. So, of course, there's moments when I've just wanted to sit in bed and cry. And sometimes I allow that. Sometimes
and that's okay also, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty okay.
I think it's important to acknowledge that when you are feeling sadness and when you do want to cry, it's okay to do that. I used to always really just want to be this strong, nothing can faze me type of person. And I think it wasn't until I started to be fazed by some things and to actually lean on people and express that, like, I'm having a hard day. I need help with something. I need help with this. Like, can you help me with my daughter today? That's when I actually started to heal more. When I was just like, I'm fine. I would listen to music that like rap music and just like, go to the gym, which is great. But then it's like, when I want to feel, I don't have the tools to just be in my body and feel. If I need to run to the gym or listen to loud music, I'm escaping.
Wow. I like that. Let's take a break on that escaping, and you'll be back on the podcast in a few minutes.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Broken Not Shattered podcast, the BNS podcast. My guest is Santana from Vancouver, Canada, with a very exciting story. If you didn't catch the first part of the podcast, please go ahead and go back and listen to all that great story she just shared. We took a break at a point when you're about to share some of the stories that you've gone through and how you've become stronger to find out who you are as a person, navigating grief, and the beauty of having someone special as your daughter show up and now become the light of your own world for now. How's she doing?
She's amazing. She's just, I think every parent is just, so obsessed, and they think their child is like the smartest, most intelligent, beautiful, like, and it's so true. Nothing compares to the love and the obsession you will have with your child. And I feel like in my case, like, she is so much more than just my child, because she really got me through such a tragic chapter. She gave me like a reason to just keep going. She's great. She has her phases, and I think every parent can attest to this. There's like challenges you face. I feel like the challenging chapters of parenthood, it's like a couple weeks of really hard changes that happen with your child. And then all of a sudden they develop something new, and you're like, whoa, those few weeks, your brain was just like new pathways were connecting, or something was happening, because now you know how to do this. Now you know how to do this. So I got to remind myself in those moments when things are challenging, something's happening. She's growing. She's learning new stuff. And I mean, she's got a really, really different story that she was born into as well. So I also just honor that. Like, she is growing up without a father. And, I think it breaks my heart that death and the nature of his death is something that's just normal to her at such a young age, where it's not really even discussed with children. I don't know at what age it becomes very obvious in their awareness that people die, and some people's lives are actually taken, and people go to jail. Like, that's just normal for her now. So growing up with that does break a part of my heart for sure.
Wow. Now you're chasing different dreams. Your story has now become something that you share quite often to empower and uplift people. Most of the time we do this based on experiences. For instance, this podcast came out of a very dark place. And we are using this platform to help others. What kind of dreams are you chasing now, Santana? What kind of dreams are you chasing? What do you do with yourself?
Well, first of all, it's amazing that you're doing this podcast. And I think it's just so beautiful to share people's stories and be able to get our stories all over the world through your platform. So thank you for having me on here. And for me, I'm starting a podcast. I've recorded a few episodes. We haven't released them yet. We're just getting a few in the bank before we start to release them. And it's about this story. I'm doing the podcast with my co-host. His name's Spencer, and he was my child's father's best friend and business partner. Oh, wow. So he's my daughter's godfather, and we both have very different but very similar stories, because their baby was their business. And then, of course, I have our daughter. So we're both, continuing on this journey without a very important person, and just sharing the struggles, the ups, the downs, the tips. My goal is just to share more of my story, to reach people that are going through any sort of trauma, because I find that grief is experienced in so many more ways than just loss. You grieve when you go through a breakup. You grieve when you move across the city for a new job. You miss your family. There's so many different levels of grief in life. Even when I became a mother, like I said, you grieve your old life, but you have this new beautiful life, but you don't know how to really step into it yet. So just sharing the beauty in the changes and just the transforming of self, how it can be beautiful. It's scary, but there's things that you can do to make it more beautiful. And I think having the experience and discipline to take the right direction, do the right things, so that process for me wasn't so ugly.
Wow. Well, I wish you guys all the best, both you and Spencer, with our upcoming podcast. Don't hold back too much. Just go for it. That's what I tell everyone. Don't wait until everything is perfect, because it never works out that way.
I think that's such good advice for in every business venture, in every avenue. Just go for it.
Just go for it. Yeah. Just if you have a couple of episodes, roll it out. It'll take care of itself.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Well done on that one. I have a question here. Someone says to me, okay. Let me read it. It says, what do you say to other solo moms walking through their own fire? That was a question someone just put across to you.
Okay.
What would you say? First of all, I know that you said when we spoke off camera, you didn't really have somewhere to go to when a place where you can actually help with this particular experience of yours. And now you want to create a platform. So the question was strictly to you, saying, what would you say to other solo moms? So look at the camera and do that. We've got 5 more minutes to go. So yeah, go ahead.
I think if you're a solo mom and you're navigating the grief of your partner, whether it be separation, loss, however that looks for you, I honestly, this is strange advice, but I just look at my child. I look at her hands sometimes. And then I look at myself and I imagine what she sees in me. Like, you are this person's entire world. What version of yourself do you want to give them? And for me, that's what motivates me to go to the gym, to share my story, to inspire people, to be vulnerable. I want her to be able to express. And if I'm not expressing, what does that show her about her emotions and her expression? And just what life do you want to give them? And I don't think it needs to be extravagant. It just needs to be safe, a safe life that's comfortable and they can express, they can feel seen. And I, like I said, I have to give her parts of her father because I don't have a father for her. So I try to embody him the best that I can. And I try to share as much of him with her as I can, even though he's not in the picture. So if you're navigating grief due to loss and your child's father is no longer alive, I think it's beautiful to include him in ways that are kid friendly. Like I said, I have a pillow of her father. I have a blanket of her father. I've brought her to the grave. We share stories, and she can feel him in her heart. She'll say, yeah, Dad is in my heart, or Dad is protecting us, right? He's going to make sure that we get better when we're sick. So I think just including your loved one that you've lost in your child's life, and also just giving them that version of yourself that they really deserve to have. That's what keeps me going.
Wow. I like what you just said. It doesn't have to be extravagant. It just has to.
And I think social media is a beautiful thing because it can connect so many people and it can inspire. But there's a lot of things on social media that give you this perception that your life needs to look like Disneyland and a big house. And
glamorous. Yeah.
That isn't realistic for a solo parent. And that's not realistic for a lot of, 2-parent households. It's not realistic for a lot of the world. And when I think about my childhood, it's not like a big house or trips that I remember. It's just like dinners with family and like the moments that you felt safe when my mom would draw on my back when I was a little girl, or when my dad would wrestle with my brothers and me. Like, those are the moments that I remember. Wow. So I think it's important to reflect on your childhood and just try and remember what stood out as far as positive things. And don't look for all the extra stuff. That's not what our kids remember when they grow up.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I when I think about my days as a child, it's things like what you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Those quiet times with dad and mom together. Family things and family trips, that were not too expensive, just us doing us.
Just connection. I remember watching American Idol with my parents, and that was so fun. Like, we'd tune in every night and watch whenever they would sing. And those are the moments that they remember. Obviously, it's amazing to be able to bring your child to Disneyland or bring them anywhere. But I think that social media can put a lot of pressure on single parents because you're looking at other people's situations and you're comparing yourself. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes with these people's finances. There's just so many things that it's what did they say about social media? It's a highlight reel of everyone's lives. So I think,
and then sometimes you don't even know if it's really their home or not.
Exactly, it could be a stage home.
Car, right?
You have no idea. So that's also why I wanted to just share more, just be a little bit more vulnerable. And, not everything is rainbows and butterflies. There are hard days, there are struggles, And I think it's important that we see that from other creators on the platforms as well.
Wow. Thanks for sharing all that great stuff. And the fact that you're creating a very balanced life for your daughter. I think it's very important. I have 2 more questions for you, Lisa.
Yeah.
The last one is after you talked about all the great stuff you're doing for your daughter. Not trying to put you on the spot, but you mentioned the new beautiful life. What is Santana planning to do in the future? Any hopes of anything new, anything fresh? Are you planning to move on from where you've been?
Do you mean dating?
Yeah, exactly, Santana.
Oh, okay. So I've briefly spoken to 2 people since my partner passed, where I would consider it a little bit of dating. And it didn't take too long for me to realize, it took about 3 weeks for me to realize that there was a void in me to have this family front, a stepfather, a partner for me, a home, embarking on this chapter of family. And that's why I entertained dating at that time. It wasn't actually for the connection with this person. And there were a lot of things on my personal list of goals that I hadn't achieved yet. Where I'm at now, I'm very aware of what I want to accomplish independently. I want to be able to provide for my daughter 100%. I want to be able to confidently enter a partnership knowing that I don't need anything from this person other than companionship. And that also takes an investment of time from my end and energy, of course. And at this chapter of my life, I don't have the time to invest into a partnership. I want to accomplish my podcast. I want to get consistent with that. I want to continue developing my personal brand and sharing my story and being a guest speaker on other podcasts and just developing myself to a place where I am really happy with my footprint. If that makes sense. Yeah, once I feel like I have accomplished that, I think then I can have a better idea of what sort of time and emotional investment I can put into a relationship. I also know that the more I share and the more I grow, I change, and what I'm looking for in a partner changes. So I'm at this point anticipating so much growth and change in the next year with myself. I don't know what I'm going to be looking for in a year. Right now, what I want may be different because I anticipate a lot of self-development in myself. So yeah, I do really want to find my person when the time is right. And I know that it would be a blessing for both myself and Jayana if that person is aligned and if it all works out. I know her father has a plan for us. So.
Okay, well, that's good. Yeah. The good thing is that that means, in other words, you're not ready yet.
No, ready. and
that's okay.
Yeah, I just have so many things I want to accomplish, and I know that they're gonna take me to just a new level of understanding of myself.
Well, that's good. Wow.
Yeah.
I hope most people can hear that and start working on themselves. I pray that someone catches that when they listen to this podcast.
I think it's just so important to be self-aware and to understand, are you looking for a partner for the right reasons? Or if you're in a relationship, is this person really serving me? Or are they just filling something that I need? You know what I mean? I would never want someone to just be a Band-Aid or filling this idea that I have of a picture perfect family. I want them to be a solid partner for the right reasons.
Wow. Oh, wow. I can end the podcast on that one, but I can't. One just says, hey, you got 2 more questions.
That's fine.
There's something we normally do. It's called a drop-off question.
Okay.
We asked the last person who we interviewed, not knowing that you're coming on next, to give us a drop-off question, and they will ask the question, and then you'll answer it.
Okay.
And then you give us a question for the next person who's coming in, regardless,
Okay.
because you don't know who the person is. So think about yours as I'm reading theirs. They say, what does the word faith mean to you, and how does faith play a role in your life, Santana?
Oh, it plays a huge role in my life.
What does faith mean to you?
Faith to me means that trust that everything is happening for you. Whatever you have been through is God is speaking to you. God has a purpose for you, and there are lessons engraved in every single hardship. So this is not happening to you, it's happening for you.
Wow.
So for me, I believe that this tragic situation, it had to happen for so many other things in my life to unfold. And that may just be a way for me to find peace in this tragic situation. But I believe that God had a plan for me, and God needed an extra warrior up there with him. So he took my child's father. They are protecting us, and they are guiding us, and they're taking us home the way we're supposed to go.
Wow.
Mhm.
And so the by question then is, how important does faith, or what importance does faith play in your life?
It plays a huge part. I mean, every morning I pray, every night in bed I pray with my daughter. I wear Jesus around my neck. Faith to me is just trust. It plays such an important role, because if I didn't have it, I feel that victim mindset could just be very overpowering. You know, I could just say poor me all day, every day. But trusting and having that faith that this was a divine calling for me, and this was my purpose. This situation had to happen for this version of me to bloom. It plays a huge role. It's so important to me, having that faith.
I know the next question is for you to give your own drop-off question, but from the first time I started talking to you on this issue, there's something that keeps on crossing my mind, and I'm trying to find a way to ask the question without. Have you ever thought about why me? As in, why you? Why was it that you were in the store and you left the store before this happened?
Yeah.
What could have happened if you were in the store?
Oh, I've thought about it a million times.
Wow.
Of course. If I was there, it's like, you know, I think in grief, you go through those, like, could I have done something to stop this? Would I have actually been? Of course, I've thought a million times, you know, the headlines in the newspaper, if I was there, you know, would they have known I was pregnant if I passed away? Would they have, you know, man and woman, she's pregnant. So many things have crossed my mind. And I was supposed to be there, but I left early because a friend of mine was going through a breakup. So he was like, why don't you go and hang out with her? She's having a hard time. I'll stay and close. You leave early. So I left early. Yeah, I've thought about it a million times. It's
and that decision could have been a decision between life and death.
Of course.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. There's experiences like this. I always wonder, you know, it just solidifies that indeed, truly, and honestly, there is a God, and He knows.
Yeah, I mean, God has a plan, and I do also believe that God can't speak to you, but He can make you feel something. So I encourage people to trust their feelings and their intuition about things, because, like, God can't come down and sit in front of you and say, this isn't the right person for you, or this isn't the right place. You shouldn't be here right now. But He can make you feel something in your core. So acknowledge those feelings and act on them.
I like that. Acknowledge the feelings and act on them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll bring this podcast to a wrap. Thank you so much But before we leave, we have to ask you, what is your own drop-off question, Santana? What do we have?
So I always love to know what is one of the hardest things that you have ever been through, and how did you cultivate the resilience to climb out of it?
What are the hardest things you've ever been through, and how did you cultivate the resilience to climb out of it?
Correct.
Okay.
So I love to hear the tangible actions that got people out of a dark place.
Wow. Well, I guess my next guest will definitely be able to navigate that, whoever he or she is.
Yeah.
Thank you again for your time. I know my team is saying we've gone over, but I'm happy to stay with you. I call the shots on this, and and it's a joy listening to you.
Thank you so much.
Hope to bring you back again in the future as your podcast grows, or just in case we have a story that we'd like to bring in, we'll pull you in. Santana's, my regards to your daughter.
Thank
and
you.
we wish both of you and the cat well.
Oh my gosh, yes, he's the star of the show.
Yeah. Okay. All right, that's the wrap. So please, guys, wherever you are, you've heard this podcast for today. We ask you again to please like, follow, share, click the notification button, whatever it is. The more you guys share with us and reach out to us, the more great content we promise to provide for you. The stories like what Santana has just shared are the kind of things we want to do on the Broken Not Shattered podcast, which is the BNN podcast. And hopefully that you can find hope and you can find strength in your grief or in anything that's going on. Just like in Santana's case, her life is turning for the best after she's gone through that. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. So my favorite 3 words as we wrap up the show: much love, much peace, and more grace. Take care and be blessed. Thanks, Santana.
Thank you so much.